Hello, and welcome to the 12th episode of Boons Conditions. Your source for competitive, structured PvP news, discussion, and banter is August 21st, 2012. Hopefully you know the year. And we are recording live on Twitch TV. If you're not watching us live, make sure to see us live. It's just twitch.tv/boonsandconditions. If you're listening to audio only, or maybe you're recording on YouTube, thanks. Don't forget to subscribe and jazz. But we're doing another podcast with 4 guests, and LaPerza's back. So, first off, how are you doing, LaPerza? Let's kick things off with you.
I'm doing good.
Excellent.
How are you doing, Mr. Fela?
I'm wonderful. I'm glad I didn't forget you. I'm going to sound terrible to anyone who doesn't understand that. Our guests, we have 4 guests. It's a packed house. Hopefully my bandwidth doesn't choke and they look 8-bit. Kicking things off is someone who's returning. That's Urho, and he's going to be our guardian. That's right. Prepare yourselves. So how you doing?
I am doing great, actually. Super excited to talk to you guys about some Guardian.
Oh, yeah. I'm going to move my microphone so it doesn't sound like I'm echoing. Yeah. Okay. We're doing this live. Coming from Guild Wars 2 Guru, be impressed. Emma Slaughter's name. All the way from Euroland. Frazire?
Hi.
Is that good enough?
That's fine, yeah. The voice perfect.
Wait, please tell me it's perfect. So how are you doing tonight? Or this morning for you?
Yeah, it's extremely early, so I'm a bit tired, but I guess I'll be fine. I hope so.
Excellent, excellent. Filling in as the Necromancer, we have from VVV, and you guys can explain what that means in a second here, is Fearless. He's the Necro. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing really well.
Excellent, excellent. Oh, you sound much better. Fantastic.
Oh, excellent.
Super. And
Glad
also...
I'm actually talking.
Right. The last roll, last but not least, also from VVV, and correct me if I'm wrong, I believe you're the manager of the VVV Guild Wars 2 division, is Rinsler. How you doing?
I currently am, and thank you. Thanks for having me on the show, man.
Hey, no problem. I think this is awesome. We have so many people. All of you guys are specializing in all these professions, but let's kick things off. Well, actually, LaPerza, you have something to say, don't you? As in, I forgot a section.
Like what? What did
Right?
I forget?
It's our
I'm
YouTube
lost.
page. It's our YouTube page. We're nearing 1,000 subscribers.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. So, hopefully, by the time that this is out, we'll be over our 1K mark for subscribers, which is awesome. So thank you guys, and we appreciate it.
Yeah, we're just about to break that about that threshold, so make sure to do that. That's where all the replays, and when we get footage from these guys, because they're going to give us footage, right? We can do shoutcasts and we'll post them there. So there's lots of content going up there soon. We're just waiting for the game to be released, like everyone else. What else? What else do we have here? There's a revamp of our website that went live recently. So I want to thank Oso Jeff and Shint here for doing that. Make sure you check the website, hook it up to your RSS feed. And what else? What other exciting news do we have going on here, LaPerza?
I'm like looking for all our stuff.
I swear it's
So I'm
organized
kind of
for
lost
once.
to where we are
you're,
right now.
You're confused because it's actually organized,
Yeah.
right?
He's actually got
Isn't that
something.
wild?
Oh.
There's show notes, people. I know you probably don't believe it.
So the big thing is we have 72 hours before our pre-release. Who's pumped? Who's excited? Oh yeah.
Sky.
So
Can I get a whoop whoop?
Sky.
Well, I guess it's 71.5 because we're always on time.
Yeah, so who's gonna like camp? Are there any people that are camping? Or are we just gonna chill?
Oh, it's
Most people
pre-release.
probably got it already downloaded and are just waiting, huh? I would assume.
Definitely.
Yeah, we're just waiting. We're waiting it out. What other fun things? Oh, the stress test happened today. Did any of you guys play that?
Yes, the whole thing.
Yes, I did.
You guys are hardcore. What did you guys think? Was it laggy? What were they doing today?
I honestly, I couldn't. It felt like the live game. No
Yeah.
issues whatsoever. It was awesome. I think that's what they did the stress test for. So that's a sign of things to come.
I had
good.
no problems at all.
I agree.
A number of people I was playing with had some connectivity issues in the beginning, but by probably half an hour in or so, everything smoothed out, and I played the entire 6 hours because they extended it by 2 hours. played the entire 6 hours fine.
Yeah, they had it going till 6 p.m. PST. So we had Arrow and Lane both streaming, so it went really well, I think. They did a lot of tournament plays, so it's pretty awesome.
Got to get that gear before it fades
Kick
away.
Right.
Flame Legion pauldrons, come on, man. Come back to me.
I honestly felt so sad opening up all of my chests today. I was like, oh, look at all this cool stuff that's not going to be here in 2 days. Yeah.
Hey, not all
But-
of us
It'll be
can
back
play.
again.
Not
It
all of
will.
us could play during the stress test. I need a dress chat room. I see you down there. Some of us have to work. All right. Well, let's get to the meat. Let's get to the meat of the content here. Dun, 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 dun. Scroll down the notes because I can't remember anything myself. So, for those that don't know, we've been spamming Twitter all week. We have four remaining professions. We have the Guardian, Mesmer, Necromancer, and Thief, as you see by the fancy icons in the live stream. So we have these specialists down there. Oh yeah, we're above you guys. I forgot.
Yeah.
So Laperza, I demand you take it away.
I'm taking it away.
You're taking it away.
All right. Do we want to start off with one of the professions, or do we just want to go the general thing? So basically, today we have our guests on, and we will be covering, as we've stated before, and as you can probably see by the little icons below me, Guardian, Mesmer, Necromancer, and Thief. So hopefully you guys are playing one of those classes, and if you're not, maybe we will intrigue you. And today we're going to start with Guardian, and we have Erho here, who is going to be our Guardian expert for the evening. He's a little upset with Phalor for not making him the NG one, but
It's okay.
we'll deal.
It's okay.
I lost a bet. So, you know.
All right, would you like me to jump into Guardian, or?
Yeah, do whatever you want. What is the
Sure.
Guardian? What is the Guardian?
Yeah, let's start with that first. What is a Guardian?
What is a Guardian? Well, Guardian is a melee bruiser. That's the type of class it is. It doesn't have very much range strength per se. It's for players who like playing the defensive role. It's the only class I can really look at in this game and say, yeah, that class is very defensive, and no matter what it does. It's always got that defensive utility for both itself and allies. So, let's see here. I'm just trying to follow along your notes.
Yeah, sure.
Team role. What it brings to a team in terms of SPVP, it's an excellent res interrupter and a reser, and that's when someone goes into a down state. It can keep people alive very quickly. Right now, in terms of viability for their weapons, I would say all of the one-handers, except for Mace, are very viable right now. All the offhands are finally good. I don't know if anyone noticed the torch buffs, but way to go, ArenaNet. Torch is awesome now. Let's see. Oh, counters for the profession. If you're dueling a Guardian, I would say bring a lot of conditions. Because they're a heavy armor class, they have a very good toughness trait line, which lots of Guardians right now like to go into. Conditions can overwhelm a Guardian. Even though they have strong condition removal capabilities, they will fall behind quite quickly, especially if you force them to use their condition removals on themselves and not their friends. What Arena should balance? Yeah, I think Arena really needs to take a hard look at Guardian viability in a very competitive sense right now. Previously playing with Super Squad and playing against Team Paradigm and all these really, really good players. The only time we bring a Guardian, it's always with one spec, and I hate saying it. It's a right-handed strength spec with meditations, and that's the only thing viable right now. You may be a player and you say, hey, well, Hammer's really good. Well, guess what? Sword, Shield, Scepter, Torch is a lot better. It can do the same thing, and it can do damage. It's very survivable. It's got lots of support. It's basically everything you'd want from a melee bruiser in one spec, and it outshines everything else the Guardian can possibly bring to a team. Sadly, right now, if you want to bring Condi removal for a team, Guardian's not the best right now. There's other classes that can do it better, and that's very unfortunate. They roll like Guardian.
When you're
Yeah,
saying
but
that you're sad about that, do you think that Guardians should be playing that role? That they should be the best Condi removal?
I think Guardian should be that go-to class. Like, we need some Condi removal. Let's get a support Guardian in here who can really do that. And the problem is with support right now in a Guardian, you're useless. I mean, that's it in a nutshell. I mean, you can't do anything but interrupt stomps. You're not going to kill anybody. If you're in a 2v2 against, say, glass cannon, and you're a tanky like control Guardian, and you're with your glass cannon buddy, they're just going to focus down your buddy. You may be able to res him, but you're not going to have the damage output to put pressure on your opponents. So, but the only spec that can really do that right now is the spec I was just talking about, which is like 10, 30, 30, 0, 0.
I want to interrupt.
So what?
Oh,
Sure.
Okay, go on.
Just going
I was
from
gonna say-
episode 9 that you were on, or 10? You were on 10. I don't know what number. Glass cannon Guardians were something that people in the chat room were talking about because you and Zuma were bringing it up. Is that not good in a structured sense or tournament sense then?
That's actually the spec I'm talking about. It's technically
Okay, I'm just not
glass
understanding
cannon.
it then.
The reason why it's glass cannon, you can wear Berserker's Amulet with the Berserker's Jewel, but the traits you take actually make you very tanky. You go the trait tree that you go into gives you like 300 toughness and 300 crit damage, and that's incredible. I mean, that makes you an awesome DPS melee bruiser, and they like I said, I can go back to it just saying, that's the only role they can really fulfill, and fulfill it very well.
Guys, you other dudes. And no, Leprezi had something to say. I'm sorry. I don't know what I'm doing right now.
No, I was just going to say that what would be, but you guys were already kind of talking about it, what would be the spec that you would suggest if someone did want to play a Guardian support role? Or what do you think the Guardian support role has become now? Is it more, instead of being like more of a healer type thing, which is what kind of I think people think they would be, or like more of a protector type thing? Or what would you suggest is the role of a support Guardian now?
If you really, really want to bring a support Guardian, no matter what, if you don't run meditations right now, you're unfortunately going to be a sitting duck. You're going to die. Shouts are great and everything, but nothing compares to the survivability that you're going to gain through meditations healing you and just bringing a meditation. You can always go 30 into your virtues tree. There's some really good traits there for support. Like, I forget the name of the trait. It makes your virtue resolve. It makes the passive strength of it better, and when you activate it, it actually removes 3 condis from you and nearby allies. So if you're really looking to support, any Guardian build basically needs to do meditations right now. That's my recommendation. That's my personal experience from playing lots of other good players. That's what Guardians are bringing. You got to base your build around that 30 points into meditations. Guardians also do have a really good shout called Stand Your Ground, which is a 30-second cooldown. It can be traded to 24 seconds. And that shout gives 5 seconds of stability and 5 seconds of retaliation, and it is the best stability way to provide stability in the game because of its cooldown and its duration. So that's
I guess the
popular
biggest
choice.
thing now is what do you guys think are the counters to maybe some of the specs that Arrow had suggested, or just the Guardian in general? Do you want to start us off, Rinsler?
Yeah, sure, why not? One of the major points of attack that we were going for in tournament play against Guardians that seemed to be going for a more glass cannon build were definitely heavy bleed builds, as we were talking about the kind of mediocre state of condition removal for Guardians right now, or less than what the Guardian players would like it to be. And bleed builds, as in like, I don't know if I can cite any specific builds, but Warriors specifically are kind of our soft counter to Guardian play, like holding onto those points really heavily with those excessively long but excessively powerful cooldowns, the full health pop. And going into soloing 2v1 on a point was really powerful. And when you did something to shut that down, so bleeds were working pretty well for us.
I do have to say,
Anyone
though, if
else?
you are playing against a Guardian in your 5v5 team, sorry to interrupt, Guardians are very, very slow. they're typically used for defending a point that because of their immobility and their melee tanky bruiser aspect
Definitely.
or just playstyle, you can really abuse a team that runs a guardian, because you know that guardian's slow. You can avoid fighting for the point that guardian's on, and when he moves, your roamer, your thief, can just use that knowledge to say, hey, that's a free cap for me. I can get there, 10 seconds and neutralize it before he can even show up to get back to that point. So that's a good way to counter a very strong bruiser guardian.
Yeah, I don't feel like there's really a whole lot to add. Just as Rinsler said, that heavy condition to pretty much force him to use all his cooldowns, and then once he's done that, he doesn't have anything else. So because conditions currently can be applied so quickly, not even the duration isn't really important, just the fact that they can be applied over and over and over and over again, and the way bleed works just as a mechanic, it really lends itself to just kind of undercutting the strengths of the Guardian specifically. And the fact that there are so many classes right now that can apply them very well. You have Warrior, you have Ranger, you have Engineer, you have Necromancer. They can all put a whole ton of bleeds out. Guardians in the first couple of beta weekends were pretty scary, but recently it's just been kind of okay, we're going to have to take a little bit of time to deal with this, but we can deal with it.
Time sinks, personally. But no one wants the host's opinion. I know this. Guardian's just annoying to kill, but you think that's their rightful niche in the game?
Sure.
I think it's an unfortunate niche. I think that they kind of got pigeonholed into this, oh look, it's the support build in a game that isn't supposed to have focused support builds. Which is unfortunate, but kind of the way it worked out.
That's a good point. Well, Franzire, I'm going to pick on you, buddy. I'm sorry. What are your
Go
thoughts?
ahead.
I know you have thoughts on the Guardian.
Well, I pretty much agree with what the others said. Like, getting the bleeds and condition damage out is really important on the Guardian, and just getting him away quickly. But I feel like often when you fight Guardians, it's just a matter of drawing out time or getting someone to come assist you. Or I haven't come to any situations where it's go and kill that Guardian really quick. That's always been a trouble. Could be because I play Mesmer and we don't really have a strong condition build in our team when we're playing it. So I guess if we went more condition, we could definitely hit out Guardians a lot faster, and will be our main goal. But there's still a trouble, I feel like. There's still these tanky, beefy guys that we have to come through when they stand at a point or elsewhere or go to our point. That's how I feel.
Well,
So what are your guys' suggestions on how to balance the profession and maybe have more optimal specs that aren't specifically just that role? Or what do you think is the problem with them, if there is? You want to start us off, Erho?
Yeah, sure. If you want to get the Guardians away from meditations, first of all, you have to nerf the meditation builds. You need to take that sustainability that you gain, like the theoretical HPS you'd gain from having full meditations and stand your ground, and you need to spread that out to other trees. You need to give, I guess there's a trait that allows you to heal whenever you apply a boon to allies, but it's so minimal, it doesn't even come close to comparing to the maximum HPS of a meditation. And a meditation healing you is much more reliable. You're always going to get that 2,000 heal when you hit smite condition versus, do I want to hit this shout and give 6 boons out so I get like 500 HP because, 2 of my allies are next to me. They just need to make the sustaining nature of the meditation build needs to translate out into other ways. I mean, it feels really good. You're really tanky. You're a bruiser. You're staying alive, but it needs to translate into other trees, I guess is what I'm saying. And you need to give them more condition removal, ArenaNet. Give them more ally condition removal, please. They need to be that class. I mean, I'm okay with. Someone had mentioned that. I think it was Failer had said, "Am I okay with that niche?" I'm completely okay with classes having a role or some sort of designated type of play, because not every class should be able to do everything. That's silly. I mean, there needs to be some sort of identity, but they're really lacking that strong identity which the class represents, and that's a strong support. So
I agree, especially the part where you said that we have to split out the traits. I feel like when you go with Guardians, they have either really strong survivability or they lack the damage. It's like they need to get spread out. They need to have a bit of both in every trait spec. That's the main point that I got from that. That was really important.
Yeah, kind of developing on what both of them said, finding that middle ground with all of the traits. I'm by no means any Guardian expert, so I'm going to kind of relinquish this after what Urho and Frost said. But take it away, Fearless.
What he said.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, man, smooth. I wasn't sure who was going to pull that off first, so.
I am that guy.
That's okay. You claimed it first. That's all right.
Right.
Well, any more questions from the chat room? I know we've been trying to keep on the lookout, but otherwise we have to move on, guys. We have to move on from the Guardian. I'm sorry. I apologize.
Yeah, it wasn't seeing that many questions from anybody. I think a lot of people agreed with a lot of
good sign,
what you guys were
probably,
saying.
for
so.
ArenaNet at least. That's the community feedback. Everyone seems to be agreeing with it. So
The only thing I saw someone counter was they were saying that they think they should take away some of the support and make them do more damage, possibly. And I don't know, maybe you guys have something
Oh, that's
to say
scary.
on that.
That's a scary
that's very
thought.
scary. I think Guardians
I think
definitely have
we've
the right
seen
name.
some Guardian specs that were damage based, and whenever there were those OP builds, it was kind of crazy.
Yeah.
yeah,
I
they
think
nerfed their greatsword stuff pretty much. It seemed.
A lot of those. Oh, sorry.
Oh, go ahead. I don't know what I'm talking about. I'm the host. Don't worry.
No, I think a lot of those builds were around when the 1 second CD on the animated weapons was around. Like they hadn't added the 3-hit stun or KD to the animated weapons, and a lot of those DPS builds were just getting like completely amplified because you just couldn't respond to it, and you couldn't attack the weapons because they were invulnerable. So it was like, oh, how do I beat this?
Oh yeah, the ones that would just like chase you around too, and you're just
Yeah,
like,
absolutely.
okay,
Like,
and it didn't stop,
just
like ever.
You can never knock them down because you would get
Yeah.
knocked down. It's like, what? Aren't you supposed to be dead? Okay. All right. Enough picking on Guardians for now. Everyone seems to have, for the most part, the same opinion, which is good. ArenaNet, I know you're listening. I see you out there. You're pick up that feedback and make use of it. So who's gonna be up next? Who we should pick someone randomly. I should bust out the D20, or we can go alphabetically, I guess. Yeah. Let's see. All right. So Mesmer, Frozire, buddy.
Yes.
I'm sorry.
Maybe you should just say your name the way it's
I'm
supposed
gonna
to
keep
pronounce.
pronouncing it
'Cause every
differently.
time Face does it, he has no confidence.
No, I don't. I
Just
can't pronounce anything.
Frosire.
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 It's like
There you go.
Frost
Say it.
Fire with Frosire, kind of.
Crossfire? Never
So
mind.
Frost Fire,
Frostfire.
that's where it came from
Frostfire.
originally.
Alright. That show makes
anyhow.
sense. Yeah, go. What is
Mesmer.
the Mesmer, buddy? What is it?
The Mesmer is a caster class, basically. It's about creating phantasms and illusions and tricking your enemies. It has a lot of elements where you have to avoid damage, survivability, and kiting, basically. What you'll be doing with the Mesmer is summoning illusions that are basically clones of yourself, and phantasms that do immense amount of damage and are clones of yourself but can be distinguished. They have a lot of mantras that they can channel that is not really as strong right now as they're supposed to be, I think. Let me just follow your nice little document here.
It's nice.
Some of the strong team roles some of the strong team roles a Mesmer can have is, right now they're pretty undefined, I reckon. A lot of it is just either supporting in multi-groups. Their single target damage is also really good. They're good in 1v2 situations for survival if they're going for that. But very often you just take the Mesmer in for the staff to support your group. They have a lot of support that gives boons and applies conditions to enemies, and you can spread them quickly. That's the main role. Also applying like slows and crowd control effects on the whole group, which is really strong. Sadly, that's basically what they're good for. Some people have been going with Great Sword the last beta weekend and stress tests, but Greatsword is really just not that good. It has a nice effect where you can bounce the sword. The knockdown is also great, but it's just not worth it right now, especially not when you start to target your Greatsword spell. You have to put it on the ground. That has limited us a lot. It's really hard to hit with that. Or it's not hard, but it's definitely harder than it used to be. The knockdown is great in group fights, but it's really limiting, and it doesn't provide you with enough. It provides you with the knockdown, and that's basically it. It doesn't supply the rest of the spells that you get from having the Greatsword. Yeah. Strong traits. Right now, Inspiration is the must-go-to talent. It gives your Phantasms Fury, and it gives them chance to apply bleeding on critical effects, which is really a must. Most of the time you'll be spawning Phantasms and having them out there doing your main damage while you're trying to survive in between them. That's a lot of your play. A really weak trait is the Chaos that really needs some working. It's basically our survivability trait, where you'll be having healing effects and or small healing effects, survivability and buffs that will basically give you like Cloak at 25% health. Yeah. That's a really bad talent they have to work on. I don't really have much to say about the trait. It's generally not good. Also, our elite skills is something really worth talking about. We have two different things that are the go-to right now. We have the MOA elite and we have the AoE. Like nearly everyone is running the MOA, and I think the rest of everything, like the last two, is pretty much just pointless. Sure, the time warp is really nice for team fights, but it's not very often that you bring the Mesmer like to go early in the team fight. You always bring him in as a support. I feel like that's what we've been playing. Bring him in as support a bit later in the team fight. Come in and like assist them when they get trouble. You never get him as a starter. Of course, the time warp could be good. It's much better to have the MOA just to finish things off and avoid that heals.
For the ultis then, because you were talking about the MOA and then the AoE ability, do you feel like they need more options as far as their ultis, or is it just those are your two options and you kind of okay with that? Because I think the MOA is really powerful.
The MOA
and also the other ability, whatever the hurricane thingy, like that just allows you to hold an area and knock people around, and gets kind of crazy sometimes.
The hurricane? Are we talking about Mesmer?
Oh, never mind. I'm thinking of the alley. Oh my god, I'm like losing. Yeah, I have had a long work day. I worked till 8 in the morning, and then I'm thinking of the MOA. Sorry.
It's definitely not a good thing that we only have that one thing to go to, but it's early stage of the game. There's some balancing, and we haven't seen any teams play. Like, we still need a lot of development in team play, so we can't tell if the time warp will become a lot better. I think it will. It's really powerful. The haste that we get from it is really, really, really strong, especially in team fights. You'll get so much more damage off. I would even say it's slightly overpowered if it's used correctly. Like, if you bring the Mesmer in early, then you can really turn the whole fight. But right now, it's just not happening with how teams are playing with Mesmer. The few that are playing with Mesmer usually have him as 1v2 guy at that point, or late support in a team fight. And that's pretty much how it goes.
Well, what do you think about the stress test changes today? I know they probably changed the Mesmer the most out of the professions from what I saw, right?
Yeah, there was a lot of balancing and fixing traits and shit. It was really good.
Good.
It balanced it out a lot. It helped us a lot, especially the latest with Warlock from Greatsword. That made the Greatsword a tiny bit viable, but since they fixed the other spell where we have to target it on the ground, it's just not good enough.
Yeah, there was some cutting out there. I don't know. It might be my connection, guys. I don't know. We'll see. There's a lot of people in this Skype call. I could understand. By the way, if anyone in chat, I need to be the jerk real quick and interrupt. If anything's cutting out or anything, let us know. If we need to adjust anything, I think it was fine, but continue. My bad there.
Yeah. Skills? Oh, question or?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay.
Go on to the skills. I was just going to help transition you, but you can go on your own.
portal effect, where we can put down a portal in 2 places. That is a spell that is really potentially really strong. We haven't seen a lot of Mesmers use it. Wouldn't say correctly, because obviously they've been using it how they want, but there's definitely a lot of work that can be done there with Mesmers porting their team around to different points to assist. I could especially see it happening with having a Mesmer defend one point and then having the portal up at the other point, and then suddenly swapping like half their team over to the point to help defend. It gives a lot of mobility to the whole team that we haven't really seen anyone use properly yet. At least that's how I feel it. I haven't seen videos, and I haven't fought any Mesmers that are really using it yet. It's really hard to use. It requires a lot of communication, and the timing has to be right. It can screw you up as much as it can give you a benefit if you have people teleport to a wrong place and the portal disappears behind you, or you expect to teleport and then the portal runs out. Oh, we've had all those incidents. Like, it only lasts for 60 seconds after you put it down. So if you are like, okay, I'm going to put it down here and run to the other side and give you a portal, and then they stand there and wait for 2 or 4 or 5 seconds, then it disappears and you can't help them, and you're just standing there, shit, now we lost the other side. What are we going to do? That is really not very pleasant. Yeah, that's pretty much spells. The rest, everyone goes with the standard with having wow, now I forgot the spell name. Null Field, removing conditions on enemies, adding friends. Everyone should have that. It's a must-have in especially team fights and also solo. It's really nice, and there's nothing that even comes close to its effectiveness. The rest is pretty much a swab around. It depends on your role in the team or what your playstyle is. A lot of people go with condition or a Signet of Domination that gives condition damage. It also allows you to activate the Signet and stun, which is everything that you'll be doing. You'll basically be spreading condition damage on enemies and then stunning and immobilizing the enemies as you're trying to get them down.
I wanna kind of shake things up. Do you, just from given what you said, because I've never touched a Mesmer, that's the one profession I have yet to even make a character of. Do you think, and everyone else can chime in, that's okay, especially chat room, I see you guys getting angsty. Do you think it has a higher skill cap than the other professions? Do people not understand it? Does there need to be more communication when playing it, that is?
I wouldn't say it has a higher skill cap. That would be too much. But
you don't want to get attacked.
It's just a playstyle that a lot of people isn't used to from other games, and it brings a lot of communication into the team. It's not necessarily making it harder to communicate, but it's definitely something that you need to practice. It requires a lot of practice and just positioning, which people will get eventually. Like, as soon as people start playing more, they will start using it more, and then it will become obvious.
Yeah, I think it's worth noting that the Mesmer is really the one class that ArenaNet made. I mean, it's their baby from Guild Wars 1. And there really isn't a whole lot like it out there in the gaming world. So, in one sense, the level of skill required is higher because people just aren't as familiar with kind of the mechanics and the style of gameplay. But as people play, I'm sure they're going to get used to it. I have to say, I'm really impressed with how far the Mesmer has come since the beginning of the betas. I really feel like ArenaNet has done a very good job of fixing a lot of the mistakes, fixing a lot of the bugs, and taking it from a class that was really broken and very clunky, and taking it to a place that's very smooth. I played a very little bit of Mesmer today, and it was fantastic.
I agree. Yeah. Let's see, the last point you have. ArenaNet balance the profession? No,
what
I don't.
What do they gotta do?
I think it's fine right now. I think what we need is just time to practice, to play with it, and get used to it in a team composition. I don't think it needs any more changing right now. Maybe a few small tweaks here and there, but it's not something that I would say, oh shit, this is not working, the balance is out of the game. Oh no. We'll just get used to it, play a lot with your team, and then people will figure out how to use it properly.
Deal with it?
Yeah.
So what do you guys think? Do you agree with him? Do you think that Mesmers are balanced? Because you're on the other side of the track. taking the damage or not. So, do you agree that it's fairly balanced and it's pretty good, or do you think there's some things that needs to be changed or nerfed in one way or the other?
Well, this is the story about how my life got flipped, turned upside down by an illusionary swordsman. Started causing trouble in the neighborhood. I got in one little fight with the Mesmer. I got scared. Now I'm moving with my uncle and my auntie to Bel Air. No, I'm just kidding. No, phantasms are like way too strong right now. You can all you have to do is just summon phantasms, and that's it. Like, you can just play defensive with like a Berserker's Amulet. Take down the damage on the phantasms. Put the damage on the Mesmer. That would be my suggestion for ArenaNet.
I mean, they did go through a phase where, in the beginning, they had a lot of the damage on the Mesmer pets, and people were just like, man, these things are crazy. And I think it was like Greatsword was like the big thing at that time too. And then now it's like, I mean, there was a phase where like they were really nerfed. So do you think that pets should still be able to do a fairly good amount of damage, but maybe it should be more reactive based on something that the Mesmer is doing, or buffing them in some sense, and then using their abilities to counteract that? Or you just think like the pets need to be nerfed and the damage needs to go on the Mesmer?
I just think the damage needs to get off of those phantasms, and I'm so against anything that plays the game for you. Put it that way.
Ranger pets?
So.
Never mind. Ranger pets. Well, the spirits.
Ranger pets are
Steer.
they're okay. That's a different
I'm gonna open a
topic.
can of worms. Yeah, I just want to tempt people to.
Oh no,
rally.
that was a good subject to bring up, because actually in the the Ranger that I 1v1'd in the gameplay that I sent you, there was a situation where we got in the 1v1 and he just forgot to activate his pet. So it's not a situation where you're forced to, just kind of sit there and let your phantasms wail on the guy. You actually have to command prompt the pet to do things, and I think that's really skill intensive, and that's a great aspect to have in the game.
Yeah. We'll bring up Necro pets. I see you. Don't worry. we'll touch on. They saw they buffed them, but we're not there yet. It's all right. Simmer down. Well, final thoughts on the Mesmer in terms of where they are now. Are you guys overall happy? Because I think we've hit all that, but what are your final thoughts before we move on?
I guess
right. Damage on phantasms does need to come down. But other than that, they feel really good. Again, it's going to take a whole lot of time, because Mesmer is kind of one of those weird classes that has a lot of different utility that's not right up front in your face. It's not like a warrior who runs around and hits people with stuff. And that's pretty much what he does. The Mesmer just is going to need a whole lot of time and a whole lot of really small tweaks, in my opinion, in order to actually get to a balanced spot.
I think
The only question that we have in the chat right now is someone was wondering what are our thoughts on Shatter. If anyone wants to take that.
Yeah, I was just about to comment on that, actually. I think one of the sad things is that they completely dropped out the Shatter. Right now, you just use it for the last bit of utility. It's not as much for the damage. It's more of a finish off damage ability. Like, we need that last 2%, so I'm gonna pop these. There is some clunky mechanic with phantasms and shattering them. So I think what they could do is remove the phantasm damage a bit and then put it on the shatters instead, or swap it around so we just get more how do you say, diversity, the choice that you have to make. Okay, I'm gonna shatter now. Am I gonna keep it for the damage? Because right now it's just mostly not there. It's either, okay, am I gonna kill him now, or am I not gonna kill him? Because if I'm not gonna kill him, I'm just not gonna shatter. Or am I in trouble? Then I will just shatter it for distortion. If not, then I'll just let them stay and do damage. We don't have the choice to where we say, ah, shit, I might have to destroy them now. Might have to kill them.
So you just want more
never
diversity,
happens.
basically, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
definitely. More shattering. A lot more shattering.
More shattering. I can make a Warcraft reference. I won't. It's all right.
Yeah.
Wait,
No,
didn't you
don't say
just...
it. I didn't say that name.
So-
Uh-oh. No.
Do we have anything else that we want to discuss on the Mesmer route, or would we like to move on to the Necromancer?
Pick on Rinslayer.
Questions, anyone?
I want
Mesmer
to
Doesn't
so
seem like.
parody.
pick on him.
All right, so we have flawless, right? That's what you wrote here.
Did I write flawless?
Yeah, you wrote flawless.
That was my first impression of him. Just a flawless individual.
What can I
so
say?
now we're going to
Very
name
accurate.
you flawless.
Very accurate, actually.
Actually, it's fearless. What is your description of the Necromancer?
The Necromancer is freaking awesome.
Ooh.
That's pretty much my description. Necromancer is a great support class. It is not a great class if you are hoping to get into structured PvP and roam around yourself. It's possible, but you won't be very effective. Necromancer has incredible survivability because of an absolutely awesome class mechanic called Death Shroud. They have the ability to hit really hard if you spec that way. They have the ability to apply a lot of conditions if you spec, well, I'm sorry, not a lot of conditions, a lot of the same condition, namely bleed, if you spec that way. It is a diverse class, but it doesn't quite have the damage output that some of the other classes do, simply because you have to make it survivable through your traits, which means you can't really stack as well into pure damage. Also, the Necromancer doesn't do a whole lot of direct damage. It's generally damage through things like marks, which require your opponent to run onto them, applying bleeds, damage over time, having minions, that kind of thing. So it's not really a class for someone who is looking to run around by themselves. It is very much a class, though, for someone who wants to be able to support a party in a whole bunch of different ways, somebody who wants diversity in their builds. And it's a lot of fun. Whether or not it's competitive enough to make it onto structured 5v5 teams is something we're going to have to see. People have been playing with it, and there are a couple of builds out there that seem to be working well, but really there's a little bit of question as to whether it is effective enough. So going from that directly into what their strongest roles are in PvP, I would say as a support point holder, somebody who is going to make your engineer stay around longer or make that guardian just freaking impossible to move. Someone who's really good, let's say, at bouncing between your center point and your other point, just to support. Again, not very strong at roaming. Also fairly good at coming into team fights and just putting conditions on everybody, especially when coupled with a shortbow thief. Very good at stripping boons from other classes, so very good in those team fights where you have to be able to focus one person down very, very quickly. Strong and weak trait lines. The strongest trait lines, in my opinion, I have it here. Curses, to me, is the strongest trait line. It is your precision tree. But that's mainly because I like bleeds so much. Your second would be blood magic, in my opinion, which is a health booster. That's going to be giving you your vitality. And the reason for that actually is because of your elites, which I'll get to in a second. Spite, your power tree, is pretty good. It's not, in my opinion, as good as precision, but if you're building for pure damage, it's the way to go. Death magic is kind of okay. It gives you toughness, which is good, but it's okay. Your traits really in death magic aren't as good as your other traits. And soul reaping is, unfortunately, in my opinion, one of the worst trees. It's unfortunate because it doesn't give you a whole lot of benefit. except specifically in reference to your Death Shroud. And if you don't trait for Death Shroud, going into it is only a couple of seconds of continued life. And more on that in a second. As far as weapons, again, I've been running with kind of a very specific build, and that is a Scepter main hand, Scepter Warhorn, and then a Staff offhand. And the reason for this is because the Scepter primary attack is maybe broken. It applies bleeds at a fantastic rate, very short duration bleeds, 4 seconds, but that doesn't matter when you have good condition damage and when you are applying 3 bleeds a hit. So it applies 2 bleeds in a row and then a poison, and then 2 bleeds and then a poison. And it is not unreasonable spamming your primary skill with the Scepter to get up to maybe 9 to 12 bleeds within 4 or 5 seconds, and then you can just keep them there. And that is specifically because on the Scepter you can get what is it called? Earth. Something of Earth.
Sigil of Superior Earth, whatever it's called?
Yes, thank you.
Yeah.
Sigil of Earth. And that gives you a 60% chance to apply an extra bleed. So when your precision is making your crit chance around 70%, it means you're bleeding all the time. So it's, in my opinion, Necromancers currently have one really strong build and a couple kind of okay builds. Their okay builds are the Minion Master build, which is really tough and can be absolutely fantastic, especially when coupled with, like, say, a Mesmer who is focusing on phantasms, because you just bring so many people to the fight. You can also go a Power Lich build, which is pretty good, and it's really good for bombing people out right in the beginning of a big team fight if they don't know what's coming. Unfortunately, if they know what's coming, you're kind of a glass cannon, so they can focus you down. However, going with a Precision Bleed build, you have incredible survivability, and you can just put so many conditions on the opposing team that it becomes really difficult for them, for, let's say, if they have a Guardian, to cleanse them all. Or even if they have a Staff Elementalist, it becomes really, really difficult.
So, I'm assuming you like the pet change real quick today. And yes, I have to interrupt. That's what I do. Did you play around with pets at all? I just want to kind of ask that question for the chat room.
I didn't. I toyed with the idea, but the biggest issue with pets is, in my opinion, is they don't actually give you any particular benefit going up against people who actually know what they're doing. People who are not going to be confused by the fact that they're tabbing through. People who are going to know when to engage in fights with you and when to not engage in fights with you. A Necromancer by himself, even with all his pets, is still going to get taken out pretty quickly. Or if you spec really hard into survivability, you're just not going to do much of anything. So there might be some application for it in terms of in some situations, but I don't think it is overall as competitive still as a bleed build. Did that answer your question?
I love the Necromancer, so I have to pick on the pet thing.
That's okay.
And I don't have Comcast, guys. It's just ISPs being dumb. It could be him, could be me, I don't know. But I appreciate everyone stating there is a connection issue. We understand. Thank you. Go ahead.
So as far as how you counter the profession, playing better, having better straight damage. Conditions are difficult because your opponent, or the Necromancer you're facing, is probably going to just put all of the conditions you put on him back on you. And so the only real way, I think, is CCing and then focusing down. And the other guests here can definitely help with how to counter this, because obviously they're playing other professions. I'm just seeing what always happens to me. But what always seems to happen to me is I'm running along, I'm doing my thing, and all of a sudden I can't get away. And when I can't get away, I can't. I don't have the ability to swap into my different forms. I don't have. It's easier to interrupt me when I go into my Death Shroud and try to do my life transfer. It just gets or I get knocked down or whatever. So really, keeping me in one spot and then just pounding me really, really hard, seems to be the way to kill me.
That's what she said.
Yes.
Yeah, she did.
All right, so Necro Killers, what are your thoughts on the status of the class? And what do you do to take it down?
If I may, chiming in from the perspective of Necro killing, because you know me, I just love hunting them. But I don't know if I can speak from a Thief's perspective, because it's a terrible matchup for me in a 1v1. If I see a Necro, I'm usually running or kind of delegating to my teammates, and I need someone to, please just come over so I don't get road splatted by this terrible beastie. Going back to Urho's point about killing Guardians, out mobilizing them is often a solid option, because not very many classes can stand still and kind of take a Necro beating. Getting 12 bleeds stacked on you in the course of 4 or 5 seconds, as Fearless said, is pretty rough and kind of insurmountable for some classes like Thieves when they don't have notably any condition removal. And kind of spiking them with warrior damage, getting warrior support on a quick clock, I guess. You have to keep your communication up against Necros. Being able to call out swap targets and kind of nuke them down as quickly as possible would be probably the fastest way to notably kill a Necro. Maybe like 100 blades charge out of nowhere. Just well-timed skills to take down Necros pretty quickly. Otherwise, their conditions just get way out of control in team fights.
Just basically just surprise them and overwhelm them.
Definitely, they aren't very mobile, as Urho said about Guardians. You could definitely use that against them. Maybe in Death Shroud, they're a little bit more impervious to movement speed reduction, but definitely a solid plan is to nuke them down with targeting them with a warrior first and then target switching off of that.
The fact that if I spec hard into Death Shroud, I only get 3 seconds of stability when entering Death Shroud means that it's actually pretty easy, even if I go into Death Shroud, to just kind of still lock me in place.
Right.
That is down, I believe. No, that is down from the first couple betas when it, I believe, was 5+.
Right. Death Shroud was absolutely insane the first couple betas.
Yeah, it needed to be nerfed.
Oh yeah, for sure. But it doesn't make it quite as scary. Yes, it's a little bit more of a health bar, but sustained damage will just cut my Death Shroud into pieces.
So do you think... So you absolutely think Soul Reaping isn't really like a trait tree that you should really go into if you want?
Well, I do use it simply because it is an extra health bar, and it's one of the best ways to make a Necromancer survivable if you're not going to spec heavy into toughness. The ability to pop in and out, is very good, and it's a little bit unfortunate, in my opinion, from a Necromancer's point of view, because it doesn't give me a whole lot of benefit besides that. All of the other trait trees seem to synergize really well. Is that a word? They have a lot of synergy, and it just doesn't play well with others the way my other trait trees do.
That's a good way to put it, actually. As someone who played Necromancer and blah blah blah, Urho probably has more opinions on it.
I actually disagree with you. I'm going to say that you're both wrong.
I think that
Soul
Curse
Reaping's the
and
best
Soul
trait they have.
Reaping can be really well together. I'm under that impression. That's why I'd asked that, because
I thought that those
let's start a fight.
trait lines were really... No. I just
Yeah, no, let's
thought
start a
those
fight.
two lines were really good. But I also wouldn't... I don't know. I think Scepter's good as well. But what about Axe and Warhorn? What do you think about that combo?
I generally don't use it because Bleed is so freaking fantastic, and my Scepter is better at that. I played around with it for a little while, as my offhand options or my second options because I was also using Soul Reaping for Death Shroud, and Axe is so fantastic at generating that. However, I was finding that in team fights, the staff is a whole lot more helpful. Being able to even drop a couple marks on the ground at a capture point and then run off and have them stay there for a while is very helpful when somebody comes, to try to take it back. Scepter was just better at supporting the rest of my team, whereas I felt like Axe and Warhorn made me more of a solo player, and I don't feel like Necromancers really fit that role very well at all. And so I've been trying to kind of steer clear of it. That's not to say it doesn't have a place. You can get, if you're built for power, you can get some absolutely fantastic damage out of Axe. But when I build for power, I find that I'm a whole lot squishier, and maybe it's a playstyle thing, but I feel like that limits my ability to perform my support role in structured games.
I think Arrow is gonna put his 2 cents in there too. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. Go ahead.
He was ready to go.
Yeah.
I saw Bloodlust.
Oh, no, 20 point Soul Reaping is... Obviously, Curses is the best tree Necros have. That's just a no-brainer. But Soul Reaping is the go-to secondary tree because of the 5 point and 15 point miner is the Death Shroud train. It'll put your Death Shroud over the top. I mean, mathematically, you're technically getting a 20% larger Death Shroud pool. The 15 point miner will proc at 50% health. It'll give you Spectre Armor, which is the best Death Shroud generator in the game. It also provides tier 2. You have the best res trait in the game, in my opinion. It's on a 45-second internal cooldown, and when you res someone, it puts a fear mark around that person's body. What more do you want other than a res and an interrupt all in one? Also, the tier 1 traits have... they just added into the trait. They combined the Life Blast Pierce trait with the vulnerability. So every time you use
investment, I need butt in there. Is that a good investment? I haven't had time to test it.
Absolutely, it makes sure in a team fight, it'll ensure that the target you're targeting with your Life Blast will hit that target, and anything traveling to the target, and it'll go through the target. So anything behind the target will hit, and it causes every target that hits cause 2 stacks of vulnerability. I don't know if anyone had noticed the vulnerability change. The vulnerability is very nice now. It's 1% extra incoming damage on the target per application. So.
Oh, also really quick, for those that don't know Pierce, because I know there's going to be people in the podcast and audio versions that won't understand, but Pierce is... okay, so in this game, if someone's in front of you and you do a projectile, or someone's in front of your target, I'm sorry, they'll actually soak it up. Pierce, however, pierces them. It goes straight to your target. That way, no one can absorb hits. You don't have the warrior coming in with your shield, or with a shield and soaking up hits. It hits your target, and like he was saying, it helps focus target, which is that's the point. That's the point of that ability. So.
Yeah, if you've ever fought any, like in a chaotic battle against a Mesmer or something, you don't want that Life Blast, which is a lot of damage if you're in a power build, getting absorbed by a clone or something stupid. It's an essential trait, in my opinion, if you're doing power Necro. And plus, the trait tree has crit damage, and we all know how amazing crit damage is once you have enough crit and power. So that's a no-brainer in and of itself. But that's my only thing I just wanted to add to Necro. Everyone has different opinions, but that's just how I love to play my Necro. I love that 15 point, 20 point into Soul Reaping.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat. I even go 30.
Yeah.
Tree. So for me, I go 30 and then 25 curse. But I mean, that's a different play style. So I just was wondering, because it seemed like you didn't think that was a tree that you should really go down. So that's
part of my issue with that.
Fight.
Yeah, well, part of my issue with that, and it, again, could just be my experience, is how long I end up staying in my Death Shroud. Because a lot of times I'm not in a situation where I'm in Death Shroud for a long time without taking a whole bunch of damage, which takes me out of Death Shroud. So, and maybe it's just the way I'm playing my Death Shroud because again, I'm not building for power. So instead of using it kind of as an offensive tool, I've been using it as a defensive tool. And I can totally understand how if you were playing Death Shroud offensively, it would be absolutely essential. But because I'm not, I find that if I'm in a team fight and I go into the Death Shroud, it's generally for stealing health from as many people as possible, and not so much so that I can stay there and spam my Life Blast. When I go into a 1v1 situation and I'm popping into it, yes, I stay in it longer, but if I'm actually focusing my opponent down, I find it's better to get out of it and reapply bleeds. Because the longer I stay in Death Shroud, because my bleeds don't last very long, the less bleed damage my opponent is taking. And because bleed, again, is so fantastic in my opinion, I would rather have my bleeds on them than be hitting them with blast. So,
Yeah, sure. I understand.
it's an opinion thing, I think.
No,
play style.
You're right. I said when I'm in a power build, I love the crit damage, the 20 point into that. Condi builds obviously play very differently. Even so, I love Soul Reaping. It just makes your Death Shroud pool bigger and it generates faster. So, did you talk about what's the top tree called for Necro? I can't think of it off the top of my head. Spite? Oh yeah, did you talk about the new tier 3 trait that they have? The tier 3 in Spite?
Gaining damage is increased by 30%?
No, when I looked at it today, it was targets under 50% health take 20% more damage when you...
Oh, that was a change. They changed that.
Yes, that tree was complete crap, but that trait makes you want to go into that tree.
Yes.
Like, holy crap.
Yes.
I was already, in my spec that I usually run, I was already going 15 into Spite. So, I don't know, I think...
Necros
we have a lot to say about Necros today.
It's a touchy topic. It's a touchy topic. I want to move on, but we're amidst the conversation. So
Necros are just a weird situation right now. They don't really have a role. There's a lot to say about them. They're a fun class, though. They have good potential.
Fun.
Well,
Yeah,
I mean, we could move on, and then you could
they
just
do
invite
have
us
that
back to
unique
just talk about
thing.
Necromancers.
Don't tempt me like that. You guys.
We got to get to the thief.
Okay,
right.
I think we're gonna wrap up
Steve
Necro
needs
there.
some more love. I think that a lot of the other classes, like Necro, has a very unique feel. I think Mesmers kind of still need a little bit of love, but they have that unique feel that you're like, when I'm a Mesmer, I feel like a Mesmer. When I'm a Necro, I feel like a Necro. Thief is I think Thief is a good subject, so I think we should definitely
Crack it open,
transition.
Rinsler. Let's hear it.
Yeah.
I know you've been charging your laser the whole.
Yeah.
He's gonna open up his chest and
He's
Oh!
chugging.
fire.
This is gonna come out
I got this.
Alright.
Alright.
Oh man. Okay. So I promised myself I wouldn't be negative Nelly on this today. So we're.
You're
Good
the
luck.
thief. You kind of have to be.
I don't want to be the cynic. I don't want to completely stereotype all thief players until the end of time. But
if anyone's tolerated the podcast, they're here. They want to hear your opinion, Rinsler.
oh no, they don't. I'm just kidding. But it's all good. Thieves in terms of playstyle are probably best summed up by that scene from The Dark Knight when the Joker storms in with his goons and then he awkwardly flirts with Rachel, and then that's during the party scene, right? And then he sends in his monkeys, and then the monkeys start flailing on him, and then he just kind of walks around and kicks Batman every once in a while. That's kind of how you have to play a thief. Going on to actual statistics, strong team roll in SPVP. I don't think anyone can argue that anything less than the Shadow Arts Venom spec is probably the most optimal way to go right now. I obviously tried in all of my videos. Every single video I put out, I refuse to put out the support Venom spec where you just spread Venoms on everyone else and walk up, nicely time and devours Venom, stun everyone, kill them.
We're
right?
watching not Venom spec footage.
Yes, absolutely. This was
Soak it up,
all.
people enjoy it.
This was this was all homebrew. I think in the video that I was running, I put a build in the description, and I was 30 acrobatics, 30 trickery, 10 crit maybe. I think I was, and I was trying to flip flop the deadly arts tree being the default damage dealing tree. I didn't really like it very much. I liked an initiative build kind of synergizing with acrobatics. I wanted to gear myself more towards optimizing what thieves do well, which I think is move very quickly between points. Obviously, it doesn't help if you can't take that point by yourself, but one thing at a time, I guess, right? So I don't want to say that I don't want to say that thieves are useless, because they're not. They have a niche. They're unsurpassed in mobility as far as being able to spam infiltrator arrow across a map and being able to walk up to a point and kind of like mind trick people into, like, you drop a poison cloud, you drop your cluster bomb, and then you just like evade back twice, and then you kind of step back and start arrowing them that way. So I kind of want to say it's somewhat like a Mesmer in playstyle, and I think people getting it into their heads beforehand that they're playing an assassin is a really big mistake, because the out of combat stealth and having initiative obviously changes a lot of things from other MMOs. It's not an assassin class. People need to wipe that notion out of their minds and kind of think about balance in more of a 2v2 or a 3v3 scenario, as opposed to 5v5 crush teams together and see what happens. Like thinking synergy with elementalists and thieves, or like rangers and thieves or whatever, but you can't. Thieves are great at roaming, but they're not really, I don't know if they're powerful enough to solo roam. So I think that builds need to be formed around synergizing with another classmate if you want to be successful. And we're actually in beta, I think it was a beta 3, we were running a double thief build for our tournament play, and we were running a double thieves guild, and we were both running the immobilized venom. I can't remember what it's called off the top of my head, but it was actually working pretty well. Like timing a thieves guild subsequently right after another and getting that knockdown and pull was giving us enough CC to drop poisons and dropping a full cluster bomb on top of 2 enemies.
That sounds ridiculous.
It was a lot of fun, I won't lie. It was we did pretty well with it, and we were able to get up enough conditions on Guardians to make them less of a problem, even though we did have a warrior on our team. Moving on to trait lines, strong traits. I can't really, I don't know. I mean, Shadow Art's excluded. I think I would give it to, I want to say acrobatics, just because of, again, thinking in terms of optimization of what do thieves do well. You don't want to be.
By the way, what attributes does that boost or buff?
Oh, acrobatics.
Yeah, if you don't mind.
Buffs vitality and concentration, so boon duration and actual health.
Okay, yeah, I just want to make sure everyone understands. Cool.
For sure. Sorry for not clarifying on that. And so I believe dodging removes cripple for the 10. Gaining 2 initiative every 10 seconds is very powerful, and especially gaining 3 initiative on weapon swap. A lot of people were kind of varying between what would be the optimal damage composition for a thief if they want to crush someone, because again, they're not assassins, they can't really put out that kind of damage, or I don't know if they were intended to, period. So like I think I was in the video running short bow and pistol dagger, so I was almost 100% geared towards surviving throughout the entire game, even if I was by myself. Like, I wanted to be able to be self-sufficient in combat. That 3 initiative on weapon swap is really important for thieves trying to go into the short bow pistol route for more of like an unload based. I don't want to say like spammy build, but I mean it's kind of unavoidable. Like the only real damage dealing pistol skill is unload, and the other skills are kind of overcosted and underabilitied. I'm not saying the blind is at all useless on the 5, but for 6 initiative, you should probably just be using some endurance and get a Caltrops bleed and cripple out of it from your trickery tree. Weakest tree, I can't say for sure, because I'm not saying that at all the deadly arts and critical strikes are bad trees or underpowered. I don't like to play with the linear. I really like to play reactively in the games and classes that I play. That's usually why I play assassin or shadowy-esque classes, is the ability to play fast and play reactively, and not that kind of dirtily face roll, sword face kind of mentality when it comes to gaming. Yeah. But sorry. Yeah, I really don't want to be the guy to poke at a weakest tree, because I know I'm going to get called out on it. I think trickery, acrobatics both have their niche. Shadow Arts is obviously really strong right now because the Venom spread. Critical Strikes has its place. Maybe there's some weaknesses in the Deadly Arts and Critical Strikes department, like up in the higher tier traits. Both Trickery and Acrobatics seem to be really relevant, both in team fights and solo. Especially the 25 tick on Trickery, or the 25 minor with the lead attacks, is increasing damage by 2% per initiative. And when you get up to 15 or 12, maybe, I think it might be. What is it, 12 or 15 when you're maxed out? Does anyone know?
Don't know.
Urho,
That's a
save
lot
me.
of damage, though.
Right. No, it seems kind of like I don't want to say a replacement for Deadly Arts, but it's definitely pretty powerful. So I tried to be innovative, in that respect over the betas, because I didn't want to just stick with what everyone knew on Shadow Arts. But moving on to skills, weapons, utilities, and elites. In terms of combos, like I said, I was running short bow and pistol dagger in the tournament footage that I put out, and it was working pretty well. I wasn't doing, as noted by a lot of the comments, I wasn't doing a whole lot of damage, but my utility with Thieves Guild and Devourer Venom was working really well, especially with another thief. People were pretty hesitant to even run one, so having two on a team was kind of groundbreaking at the time.
It's like always roam together in that note. Did you guys never break up?
Yes, we were always in a 2v2 scenario, going for like either mine on what's the GVG Lord v Lord map called? Legacy of the Foefire. Is that right?
They keep changing their name.
Right, sorry. But for sure, Legacy was a great map for that, getting people caught on capture points. Like over at Quarry and Waterfall. Waterfall was a big bottleneck for people because they would try to evade out and get caught on gates and stuff like that. And when you're getting pulled around by two Thieves Guilds, it's pretty rough. So, with getting back on topic here, short bow and pistol dagger, again, completely made for survivability. I was at the end of the beta weekend going short bow, pistol, as I said before. Still sticking with that. I stayed with the same trade spec throughout, the 30 Trickery, 30 Acrobatics, and 10 Crit Strikes. And it was working pretty well damage-wise, and I was really happy with my ability to never run out of initiative, period. I was always able to keep up a spammy Infiltrator arrow and get across capture points way faster than anyone else could.
Yeah, you're not draining initiative a lot in these.
Yeah, ever.
It's never going
It's ridiculous. Withdrawing on a 20-second cooldown, I believe. Like in this clip right here, guiding around the Guardian, like nobody can catch up to me really. It's, I don't know. I don't think Thieves need to be relegated to the poison spec yet, or the Venom spread. I don't think people need to settle for that, and I think I would encourage innovation in that respect. And but I think the two main weapon combos right now would be short bow, pistol, and then short bow, dagger, pistol. Dagger, I'm not going to give much love just because the damage was really unimpressive when I had to get in a combat scenario versus, say, a warrior. I know that's not really an accurate footstone for a conversation like that, but because Thieves play really reactively, it was just hard for me to encompass the playstyle of jumping in,
to bring, I guess, doing
okay damage and leaving. I would much rather sit with a short bow and pair up with another thief and kind of utility people out of the game without being hit.
Okay.
It's really interesting to watch the footage too, because majority of the time you're ranged, which is really strange to me.
Right.
Like watching a thief.
Footage, man, I'm not gonna lie. I want to like pan back to you, but I'm like,
just like,
what's he
why?
doing now? Like, I want to play thief. I can't pan.
It was super. Don't come back to my face. Keep it on the video, please. I'm begging you. Yeah, it was. I make it a note to try and have fun when I'm playing competitively, but I can't stand the dirtily playstyle. Like, I don't want to sit there and give venoms to my teammates and then walk away feeling useless. Like, it was really rough being
well, for me, it was more
stuck in that
so,
role.
what do you think about the fact that I'm seeing most of this footage is all, like, ranged. Do you feel like that is okay for a thief? Like, thief should be more of a ranged class? Or do you think that they should be more of a melee class? Because I'm not seeing you melee ever, really.
Yeah, I think I strayed away from Dagger completely that weekend. Sword Dagger was really underwhelming just because of the backstab skill was like, what were you thinking? Like, they had you roll twice, and then if you're not behind your enemy, you do mediocre damage at best, and they can like just walk out of it. They had like a 0.25 second incap or incapacitation off of that. I mean, it was really underwhelming at best. So I felt like we were forced into bottlenecked into the short bow and ranged roll. And I mean, I feel like short bow is the way to go right now. I can't stress enough how uncatchable I am with a short bow. It's ridiculous. Like, evade arrowing away from warrior fights and 100 blade skills is absurd. Like, does Heartseeker give a dodge now, or is it still the same? Does it not do any of those skills evade?
I don't think it evades at all.
Okay, I'm just...
Chat room's really active, by the way. I don't know if you saw it. That footage, everyone's asking questions, so we need to get to those in a moment.
Gotcha, for sure. Sorry, I don't want to monopolize you.
How dare you? How dare you bring cool footage? Okay. Well, let's just go to one, actually, since we're talking about it. Traps. What are your thoughts on traps? I believe Mr. Wolf, and I can't find his name, Laser Wolf asked that.
To answer your question, Wolf, we actually wrote me and Steb Starwin wrote we wrote a redesign for thief traps and things like that, and we kind of came to the consensus that traps they're kind of subpar in the current environment of open maps and trying to roam that way. If you use one of them and you're down a cooldown, like, I don't know how to put it into words, but building your build to run felt like a mistake when you're going into a head-on fight. But I'll post that article in the chat box in a second. But I don't want to say they're useless, because I know a lot of people were having success with tripwire and shadow stepping and stuff like that. But I felt like I didn't want my cooldowns to be dependent on getting away, and I wanted to kind of be able to use withdraw offensively and defensively, and traps kind of limited me to only playing to run, and I didn't want to be relegated to that role. I don't know if that answers your question or not, but I know a lot of people were having success with tripwire and stuff like that, so I don't want to say that they're at all invaluable or not viable at this point.
Well,
why don't you talk about the... we don't have to, but
we'll do
the
it.
trap that someone's a thief.
Oh, the trap that someone's a thief. Is that... I would have to... I honestly haven't tested it, so I'm reluctant to form an uneducated opinion. I don't know how big the AoE is. Is it in a line, or is it is it in a line? What's the AoE look like on it?
It's in a line. The AoE is relatively small, but in my experience playing against the thief, when they have that trap and they're running 2 venoms, it's probably one of the most overpowered things in the game. But that's just because of what the trap does. It's one of the thieves from the Thieves Guild.
Gotcha. Okay, no, I definitely see that being a problem with having a short bow bouncing venom, because it applies conditions off of that arrow, on whoever it hits. So I can see that being an issue with dropping that trap on an immobilized enemy and just completely ruining their life with Thieves Guild. I don't want to at all say that thieves are underpowered and make that a blanket statement, because their steal mechanic is obviously kind of iffy at this point. I don't think I use it throughout this entire video just because I'm ranged and I don't ever want to be that close to someone. Initiative was kind of a touchy subject in the beta, just because we didn't want to. It felt wrong, because you were balancing 2 different types of mechanics in terms of skill cooldowns and initiative cooldowns. But to get back on topic on your trap question, it just, I don't have an educated opinion on it. I would have to see it in action, but it sounds absurd.
Everyone else feel about Rogue? Whoa, I didn't say that.
Oh no!
Shit.
Credibility down the tubes.
Oh man, I'm so good about saying profession instead of class too, so I just threw away my credibility.
Yeah.
50 viewers gone.
There they go. There's 50 of them. They're gone. They're all leaving. Well, has anyone else played a thief, or thoughts about when you see him in battle? Do you pee your pants? Do you run away? Do you charge him? What do you do?
I pee my pants.
Yeah,
A good thief player is...
Depends on the build.
Yeah.
I think thieves for me are it's sometimes it's holy crap, what just happened to me? And then like most of the time I'm just like, oh, that tickles.
But
You're
the-
dead.
Yeah. It really depends on the build. It's like you have to get a feel. Like you have to be in mumbles. Like, well, are they strong or are they weak? And if they're weak, they're like, I don't know. For my groups, they're usually the first target because people don't seem to play them as well as other professions.
Which is funny
Yeah.
to me because right now
I
the
don't know.
easiest build, isn't it like 2-2-2-1, 2-2-2? Like it's like depending on your build, it's pretty simple, I think. As far as like the few keys
That's
that you
just me.
have to hit.
That's just me. That's one opinion of many.
I mean, go
Kinda feel-
go watch Lowell play Thief, and you'll change your mind really
Oh,
quick.
that guy's
but
scary.
I mean,
Yeah.
Yeah.
when you
Indeed.
jeez, now when I'm putting together like Zemo and I were talking about comps, we're going to run it live. All of them have a Thief in it, just to give you an idea how good they are right now and what they bring to a team. I could get into details, but there's not enough time. So
Yeah. In a sense, Thief is kind of suffering right now the same thing Assassin did in Guild Wars 1, where people are like, hey, look, it's a guy that runs around stabbing people in the back. It's kind of that Assassin syndrome that Rinsler was talking about. And as we just saw in that video that Rinsler had, Thief is very utility based. It's very much it's a class that has a lot of functionality that's not stab your opponent in the face. But it makes every other class so much more effective because of what it brings to the table. And I think as people start getting away from the, hey, I'm going to stab you in the face with my Thief, and more into the, hey, I'm going to use my Thief build, to complement the other 4 players on my team and make them so much more effective. I think as we start seeing that, Thief is going to become really popular at the very high end of structured PvP. However, you're going to have this weird dynamic where at the very high end, you're going to have some great thieves, and then you're going to have a whole ton of mediocre thieves because when you watch the video that Rinsler posted, it just, the level of skill or the level of ability to be able to move around like that is fairly substantial. Most people can't just pick up the Thief class and be like, okay, I can do this. Whereas something like a Warrior, you can just kind of say, okay, I just run around slashing my opponent in the face. Thief just takes so much more skill, in my opinion. It's...
We'll avoid opening that can of worms. We're gonna leave it there.
All right.
Before we cut it out, I
Alright,
think something needs to be touched on that Urho said that I don't know if it resonated very well with a lot of people, but thieves are overpowered right now. Maybe not in the right sense, not in the right sense at all, but like in terms of their utility with the Venom spec and how widespread that is, how much of an effect that has on a team fight, they're just completely busted. And in terms of being to spam an Infiltrator's arrow that gets you across the map that quickly, like the power has obviously not been shifted into the right slots, but that's a complete discussion for another time.
Yeah, thieves are really powerful. I mean, you're like, people who don't think that just haven't seen good thieves. Like, you're gonna, when launch comes out, you're gonna see a lot of thieves on the battlefield.
what?
Good ones
The
that are gonna be
what's
kicking
that name?
ass.
The Typo King, and it's with typos. That's very creative, Mr. Chat Room Guy. Okay, so I'm just going to quote him again for the people who are listening to the audio podcast. The Typo King said, "It's kind of ironic that every class discussed so far in Human Profession has been overall summarized as a support class." And someone can correct me here, that's fine. But really, there's a lot of things in this game that have to do with synergy and setting each other up. You're not running like 2 deeps, you're not running 2 people who are pure DPS and then you have a healer sitting in the background. So, yeah, that's the point of the game.
you know what that says? That says that this game's a very good thief, or a very good thief game. No, it's a very good team-based
Yes.
game.
Yep.
If
Yep.
everything you play feels supporty, it's because, well, it's a team-based game, which is awesome, and that's what makes this game so unique, in my opinion.
Yeah, it was
a lot of fun.
Bash type. Okay, we're kind of like agreeing with really. Yeah, agreeing. Wow. Yeah, that's the beauty of this game. That's why we have this podcast. That's why we have people from VVV and AC and all these people just like really getting into it, even though the game's not even out. Like, I don't know how we can emphasize that more. That's why this game looks really kick butt. And you
The
should
fact that
pre-purchase.
those questions are even being brought up is really substantial. Like the fact that those walls were broken down and the class mechanics before the game is even released have been relegated to everyone needs to work together instead of, let's 1v1 mid boxes or whatever.
Get on the pillar. Circle the pillar. No.
Right.
Man, I say this every episode, but we have to wrap it up, and it hurts because I don't want to do a 10-minute outro like we always do. But you guys have been awesome. I mean, for me, it was first time meeting or seeing a lot of you folks, so you guys have been fantastic. Appreciate you coming on here.
Well, thank you for having us.
Yeah.
Hearts, manly
Yeah, man,
hearts.
thanks for
Super
bringing us on.
awesome. So where can we find VVV? Because some of our viewers, I think most of them probably haven't maybe heard of you guys.
We haven't repped you guys
So
as much,
let
but
us
now
know where
have
we can
to.
find
We're
you.
obligated to.
Right, here come the shameless plugs,
Here
right?
we go.
Here, we'll drop a few links in the chat box, and big shout outs if we have gotten to that point yet. Am I good to give shout outs?
Yeah, and people, because
Yeah,
there's audio
go ahead.
versions only, so you gotta make sure you say everything.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Go ahead and stop by vvvgaming.com. You can either do vvv-gaming or just vvv gaming with no hyphen at all. And we reside on the internet. You can stop by our Mumble channel, and I'll post a guide to how to get Mumble set up if you are not familiar with it. Big shout outs to Steel Series. Say it like I have a pair. Okay.
Man.
Ouch. Definitely. Fearless, do you have any plugs on top of that?
Yeah, come follow me on Twitter at VVVFearless.
That was awesome.
Great, good
Did
transition.
you guys practice ahead of time? No. Franz, so this website, Guild Wars 2 Guru, I think I heard about it once or twice, right?
Yeah, I've seen it around. I think it's a pretty new website and all.
It's kind of neat. It's pretty cool.
Yeah. We're trying hard, very hard to
Do we even have to
be cool.
plug it?
No, I don't think so.
Everyone from
I think
in
the
the chat
majority of our
room.
viewers will know.
Yeah.
Guild Wars 2 Guru.
Yeah, there's just so many discussions there. Anytime I have a question, that's the resource I go to first. I use the search feature. Be amazed, be impressed.
Wow.
I know, but there's so much that's been covered over the years. Guru's been there. So, for anyone that's new to the game, I think you guys are probably in the same boat. You're trying to get your real life friends to play the game. If they need a resource, go to Guru. Lead them over there. So. Urho or
That's
Arrow. I always mispronounce your name, just like everyone else's. That's okay.
It's okay.
You want to plug anything? At all?
I'll let LaPerza do all the work.
Aw.
She's the team manager.
Yeah, so if you guys haven't heard, Alpha Collective has actually picked up Airho. So, yeah, yay!
Lots of other exciting stuff coming up
had-
too. So
Yeah, we do have some more stuff coming up too that we'll be announcing possibly tomorrow morning. So you have to check out our site at alphacollective.org. You can find us on Twitter at Alpha Collective, on Facebook at Alpha Collective. We're pretty much anything Alpha Collective you can find us at. Yeah. Now for the real plug
Uh-oh.
is Boons and Conditions, man.
I
You
like
gotta
that
follow us.
website.
You can find us most of the places. We are GW2BNC, and that's our website. Our Facebook is actually Boons and Conditions, I believe.
I actually
Our
just
YouTube.
registered. I just registered facebook.com/GW2BNC just yesterday. Yeah.
All
on
right,
Facebook.
so we're slowly transitioning everything to be a little more the same thing, or at least backtrack so that you can find us. But Boons and Conditions or GW2BNC.
And again, we have a new website. We have our own forums. You're only cool kids go there. So I mean, if you're not cool, please don't. Just no. Follow our Twitter, like she's saying, Facebook, Google Plus, because what we're trying to do, and here we go. I'll see if I can do this in under a minute. BNC is here as a structured player versus player podcast. We're a live stream. That's our main focus. When the game comes out and they have spectator modes, we're going to be following AC, we're going to follow VVV, we're going to follow other teams we've had on, and new teams as well. So if you want to get in touch, let us know. That's how we meet a lot of these guys. It's communication. If you want to be on here, want to rep your own team, toot your own horn, let us know. We're here to help. We'd love to do shoutcasts in the future. I have one little one that I think it broke 35,000 views, and yes, I am tooting my own horn right now. People like hearing me say chop, chop, chop. If you've seen the video, you'll understand. So That's all I got. That was about a minute. So, all right.
Yeah, and of course, as always, thank you to Typefrag and Engine, who are both of our sponsors. They're awesome.
Yes.
Check them
Look
out
at
too.
that. Bam. Typefrag provides our we're going to transition to Mumble. We like Vent, but we're going to go to Mumble. Typefrag has all of them. They have TeamSpeak, Ventrilo, Mumble, and Engine. If you haven't heard, they only have 3 million people registered on their site. They have like 150,000 guilds and clans and teams. So if you're starting up your own thing for Guild Wars 2, go over there and make your guild website. It's really easy to congregate and stuff. So yeah. Okay. We're good. That was the shortest outro ever. So all right, appreciate you guys coming on again, and everyone have a wonderful night. Thanks again for watching.
Toodles.
See you guys.